There we are. Helps when you turn your mic on. Hey, Bill. Lumping Bill. Carrie. Sing to I Am. Good morning, Grammy Pam. Grammy Q1. RM Johns. Hey, Raylene. So I'm playing Underneath the Streets of the City. We're talking about underground. What's going on underground? Iceman. With Kay Schaefer. Oh, Granny Q? She must be one hip granny. That's all I can say. I'm so digging the drum part in this tune. This is my tune, Underneath the Streets of the City. Shalom, Mr. Saxophone. Janice. Victory 171717. Rocket Ridgeback, welcome. Andrea, what is shaking, Andrea? Thanks for the tweet. Let you guys come in and then we'll take off, okay? I won't hold you long. I just want you to hear the bridge of this song. Behringer, Victory. Mr. Saxophone, the verse is in 7 on this tune. Oh, rocket. Fire it, baby. I love the sisters on this tune. I think this is Peter Sprague. If you're from the San Diego area, yeah, Peter Sprague is pretty legendary in Southern California and beyond. Listen to his guitar solo. Come on, Peter. I can't remember who played on all my albums. Oh, Hank Easton. He's even awesomer. All right. We're getting to it. Do you mind if I just hear the end of this song? Hello, Jess, Lifestyle. I had fun writing this tune. Play this little lick on the guitar. That's in 7/8. Okay. It's called Underneath the Streets of the City because I used to live in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and I used to ride the subway. And there's something about being in the underground and about having your thoughts and feelings reverberating in you under a city, under everything that's happening, this massive jungle of activity, and you're underground and you're in this car, this subway car, rocking and rolling. And I remember going off to my University of Toronto. I was in the guitar performance thing, just absolutely terrified, dealing with a whole other side of my performance anxiety issues and my stage fright and everything that scared me and limited me and made me feel like second class, like the B player on the A team, and going off and feeling my heart in my sleeve every day, leaving my apartment and in the underground and driving off. So I wrote this song, Underneath the Streets of the City, and how being in that place made all the feelings reverberate within me. And that's what the tune is about. And there's an underground thing going on now that we are a part of. Sometimes what's going on underground, hey Liberty, sometimes what's going down on underground is way more powerful than what we can see. And I want to think about that for a minute, because the number one play that the enemy has on any of us is a psychological op. It's between our ears. The warfare, the biggest warfare, is between our ears. When we come into relationship with the Lord through Christ, we are brand new. And the same Spirit that raised Yeshua, Jesus, from the dead, lives in us. We have resurrection life, authority to raise the dead, literally. And we have heaven in our hearts. So we are all good in the heart, in the spirit. But the brain, the mind, man, that's the part we'll spend the rest of our lives getting our thoughts, our mind, our focus to line up with what God has done in us in an instant at the time of rebirth, of catalyzed new life in us. And so the biggest issue is always between our ears. The biggest fight is always a head game. It's always a mind game. It's always a head fake. And that's the enemy's biggest play, is to constantly keep us in the old neural pathways of what we learned in the natural about who we are and what's possible for us, and what could hurt us and what could kill us and what could destroy us forever. That's all learned. And what we talk about here is that if that's learned, it can be unlearned, and we can learn truth on every level of our being. And so what's going on underground in the thoughts, not even the conscious, but the unconscious, there's the conscious, the subconscious, and the unconscious. And what's going on in your non-conscious experience is actually deeper and wider than what's going on in your conscious mind. And so it's really addressing your conscious choices to wire your brain to think, to say, to act out of truth, change the brain, and over time, they filter down to change the unconscious realm that runs the show. The unconscious is like the autopilot in your brain and in your thinking. And the more you interact with God, and the more you allow God to heal root memories and things that are stored in our cells, the more your unconscious mind really becomes more and more deeply convinced of the truth. And then you can actually experience, and then your spirit flowing deeply, the Holy Spirit flowing in us through our spirit, can actually transform that unconscious to be a powerful juggernaut, fueling us with faith. You can actually begin to wake up aware of happy, aware of victory. I used to wake up every day, and now in this period of time since the beginning of the year, I've been more aware of needing to stay grounded, because the atmosphere is so heavy, because there's so much warfare and so much junk and so much chaos and so much media and so much fear, right? And many unknown things that I've had to make sure that I stayed grounded. Right? But you can actually move from somebody who experiences a lot of unconscious, non-conscious fear and anxiety into a person who actually experiences a lot of non-conscious or unconscious peace, because so much healing has taken place in you that actually what's fueling your daily thoughts is more and more coming out of truth and out of groundedness and out of a sense of safety in the hands of God. Isn't that beautiful? But what we want, so there's so much going on underneath the streets, the subway of your life, right? And we are in this intense psychological warfare right now. And I want to bring to your mind something that I saw on the Dilly Show about a week ago. And sometimes if something is really meaty, it takes me a while to really process it into something that changes me and changes and enhances my God thinking, my godlike thinking, my victory from heaven thinking. And this is one of the things that Dilly showed us on his show last week. He gave us a video of a Chinese bot farm. I don't know how many of you saw that, but but the bot farm is really something that amazed me, because one of the things that he's been saying is that part of the psychological operation for the good side is to allow the not so good side to think they have more power than they do, and let them play with that and let them expose themselves. Sometimes the Lord will allow the enemy to do something that seems big and scary, and allow him to move off into arrogance, right? Pride and arrogance. Have you ever heard the words, Satan always overplays his hand? It's really true. There's sort of a hubris about wanting to control the world in evil domination that makes people believe their own press releases. And there are times when part of the game, part of the art, part of the battle is to let somebody think they've got more power than they do, and to let something come to the surface. And so part of the wars we're hearing through media and social media is I really believe that patriots are allowing people who control these things to think they have more power than they really do. But every once in a while you get to peek behind the curtain, and you see something like the Chinese bot farm. Chinese bot farm, the video showed just towers of shelves, in a row in a building with literally hundreds and hundreds of cell phones all lined up in these shelves in a row. I mean, the one shelf that was visible in the video had hundreds of cell phones on just the one shelf, that in a room that presumably had dozens of shelves. And each cell phone, you could see, was tied up with a cord to a mainframe, which apparently is controlled by AI. And these are bot farms. And each individual's phone is supposed to represent, in social media, a human that actually might hate you if you say something that is politically incorrect. And each one of these little cell phones is tied up to this massive mainframe that's controlling and filtering social media content. So if you post something on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram that's intolerant or hateful or violent or racist, these little things, the mainframe is programmed to find your post and filter out certain keywords and then start talking to you as if it's a human being that hates you personally. And one facility, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of cell phones in China, in one facility. But they're not humans. They're not people who hate you personally. They're not people who thought it through. They're electronic devices that are being manipulated to terrorize people and make us feel very, very small. You see that and you think, wow, and they have hundreds, maybe thousands of these facilities around the world. Different groups of people could do them for anything. And it's not people, and it's not souls, and it's not human interaction, and it's not thought. It's electronically manipulated devices to make us feel small, to make people who disagree with the narrative, people who are politically incorrect, who have a supposedly unpopular, to make us feel that we are isolated, that nobody agrees with us, that we're crazy, that if we don't go with any narrative that the sexual anarchists want to bring out, or the political anarchists want to bring out, that there's something wrong with us, because these things hop on it and boom. And that also emboldens other people who want to do the pack mentality to think they're bigger and to think their side is winning. And it's also happening in the polls. Right now, they're completely undersampling whole groups of people who will vote and making it seem like this side is beating this side. And it's not true. It's a manipulation so that a smaller group of people in the United States will feel bolder and feel more socially just and feel more like, see, everyone agrees with me about what is intolerant and what is racist and what's not racist. It's a way to inflate and conflate a smaller group of people than we might imagine so that it feels bigger. And then you have people controlling media. The same six companies control all of the major television. There's only six corporations that control all the television stations. And they all have these strange little interlinked relationships between them. And only 6 people, like Dilly just said, control content moderation in one little base in Facebook for thousands and thousands of people just in that one little hub, let alone. So what you really have when you're dealing with elite powers, you have a smaller and smaller concentrated group of people whose names show up over and over that express that power in ways that make us feel like we're the small ones. And this is how Satan plays. He's a defeated foe. He's a defeated enemy. He was humiliated at the cross and in the resurrection. And his biggest play is the bot farm between your ears and my ears. It's the little neural wirings of, see, I can't do that. No one likes me. I'm afraid. I'm not going to make it. We have little bots running loose in our heads of old thoughts that become weaponized against us. But most of the play we're seeing right now is God allowing this to come up and manifest. Okay, give it your best shot. Go ahead. Go ahead. All right. It's like Jesus watching the kid with the 12, the lead with all the demons. And he's like, yeah, okay. Oh, you got a legion, do you? Really? Okay. Yeah. Oh, legion. Oh, yeah. You're pulling the chains out. You're cutting yourself. You're scaring everybody. Okay, go ahead. Yeah. Wow. Go ahead. Really super scary demoniac with a legion of demons in him. And Jesus is like, you got it. Is that your best thing? Okay. Out. Out. Jesus made demons go with a word, out. We need to learn that. We need to learn that they have to go because of who he is. And we don't have to play, and we don't have to make it a drama, right? And so we're dealing with bots, Psy-OPs, and Psych-OUTs. And right now it's more intense than it ever has been before because there's so much at stake. And if you can understand this, if we can begin to understand that the people that seem the most intimidating to us in media and in education and in business and banking and government, really it's one of those times we need to be praying like, was it Elisha who prayed for his servant? The armies were surrounding the prophet's door, and the servant opens up and he's like, oh my gosh, the armies are there. They're going to kill us. And Elisha goes, Lord, open his eyes. Let him see. And the eyes are opened and they can see that those who are with us far outweigh those who are against us. And that's true in the spirit, but it's also really true in the natural. We really are part of a massive wave and tsunami of what God is doing in the earth. And the biggest play for us is to not buy in to the bot farm between our brains and the psychological op to make us feel small and intimidated. This is part of a larger thing God is doing in the earth. He's letting the enemy manifest and give it his best shot. Not for part of it is for our sake so that we'll have a resilience and we will not be impressed. Can we learn to not be impressed by the latest news report? Like, were you all super impressed and worried when, the NASCAR thing happened? Like, oh no, not in NASCAR too. Oh wow, look at all that terrible stuff happening even in NASCAR. Did you spend time perseverating over that, worrying about it? I mean, I'm disappointed. I feel like we're learning right now not to lift up sports teams American icons and institutions, companies, so many things that we just thought were sacrosanct, mom, apple pie, and baseball, right? Maybe not. Maybe we'll be lucky if we will have mom, hopefully, and apple pie. We might be limited to true uncorrupted institutions right now, but that's okay, because God is in the process of winnowing us and winnowing our nation. Since when did God ever need a majority? Since when was anything God ever did in the earth by majority? It's always been a remnant. It's always been a Gideon's army. It's always been 12 disciples. It's always been Jesus and a few good friends. It's always been Jesus and a few good friends. If you look at how God has turned and shaped nations, it's always been the remnant. And we've always been able, as a remnant people, to move with the majority of heaven. And I speak about the spiritual influence of the remnant, but I also believe that massively around the earth, there is a larger group of people that are being awakened than we can even imagine. And there will be key remnant people at the forefronts of those groupings of people. And so we have to always keep our eye on the ball, that as a remnant people or as a patriot people or an awakened people, we see maybe more than most people do. But God has to let the nations take a look at what's really going on. He has to really let it manifest. He has to, demoniac, yeah, okay, all right, Legion, have at it. Really? Pretty scary there. All right. Out. And so hold on, hang on. It tells you something when the enemy has to put a lot of effort to stop something. When you see Facebook and Twitter and Google spending so much time and energy developing ways to censor and control, that tells you how afraid they are of who's really out there. How much time, energy, the departments, the reinforcement, how much time the media has to spend every day terrorizing people, scaring people, dividing people, freaking people out. Every day, a drumbeat. Why? Why so much energy? Why so much energy? Why do China, the Chinese government and others feel it's so important to expend so much time and energy and money and in bot farms and buying our institutions and influencing our country? Why does the enemy spend so much time every day trying to get you to live under the burden? Concerned, worried, afraid. Why? I mean, it's a constant drumbeat, constant filtration of your thoughts, a constant dropping of darkness into the atmosphere. Why? Because you expend your capital and your energy and your ammunition against the greatest threats. We are the greatest threat. Patriot people who love God, know who we are, and love others, care about others, will serve our country, will speak the truth, will share our faith, will bring our gifts. And so souls are on the line. And so we're going to look some worse fears. We're going to see the fallout of the drumbeat of all of the censorship and the vomiting out of darkness and the anarchy of souls and hearts and minds and the outcropping of corrupted educational systems. We're going to see it all. It's going to come out. But it's amazing to me, with all that on their side, how much the enemy still needs to try to control every thought, every impression. You'd think if you had all that on your side, you had pretty much controlled the institutions and the sports teams and the companies. I mean, are you guys just sick of getting emails from your local, art supply store that has to remind me about political issues? I just want to buy paint. I I don't need to be you to signal to me social justice signaling. I just want to buy paint. Stop it. And I mean, with all that control, the enemy still knows he's a loser. And he still knows it doesn't take a majority to turn things. He still knows the righteous remnant is terrifying utterly. He still knows that there are underground streams of people rising and thinking outside the box. And he's still moving in arrogance and hubris. But underneath the streets, something's rising. Something's increasing. And it's you and it's me. So we hang on and we just hold our peace. Hold our peace. And refuse to be impressed with what he's doing. Refuse to be impressed with his imprint and his drumbeat about how terrible it is and awful. Okay, whatever. All right, give it your best shot. But God. But God is doing something in our nation, in us as individuals as well. And we can refuse to be unimpressed by the latest psychological operation, like the NASCAR thing, and then go to find out it's the biggest hoax. Did you give it any energy? Or can you just, like, having a 24-hour rule or a 36-hour rule or a 3 or 4 day rule and go, when somebody hits me with the latest crisis email, the latest crisis prayer request, the latest, post, oh my gosh, can we just take a breath and go, I just refuse to move out of crisis. I refuse to move and react out of crisis. A couple of weeks ago when I got the intel from a friend of mine who's involved in high-level intercession and is connected to intercessors in Washington, D.C., that there was a plot, there's something really dark that we needed to pray about. I was alerted and aware, and within 30 or 40 minutes, we did a Periscope, and you guys joined in, and we had maybe 20,000 people, intercessors, praying. So it was a moment of crisis, but it was a moment of spark, faith, and action out of victory, right? Can you discern the difference between the spark that creates action out of victory and out of, no, you're not getting away with that. We're not doing that. As opposed to the crisis that makes you go, oh no, not NASCAR too. Oh, we're so bad, we're so evil, we're such, what I'm saying? Oh, it's everywhere. Oh, we're way worse than I thought. I thought you get these things and you get hit with them, and then you're on your back foot, as they say in England, kind of caught off guard. Can we just have a 24 or 36-hour rule when new information comes across our desks or our laptops or our phones? Goodness gracious, there was a time when it took weeks and months to get the news to go around the world. And somehow the things were okay when people took time to get information and process information. Somehow. And so we can say, wait a minute, on the off chance that I've just been manipulated by the media or the social posting or the pressure or the response, maybe I'm the victim of a bot farm because I dared to post something on Twitter that was flagged off in, China somewhere. Can we just go, wait, just because you want a reaction out of me, I don't have to give it to you. Just because you want my attention, I don't have to give it to you. Just because everyone else is all upset and freaked out and worried, I don't have to be. The Holy Spirit can call me to prayer. The Holy Spirit can speak to my heart and give me concern. But in the meantime, I think I'm going to just go ahead and be okay and be happy and be at peace. I emit that into the atmosphere, and we don't need darkness feeding off of our anxious thoughts, do we? We don't. So there you have it. There's something going on underneath the surface. It's big and huge and beautiful. It's brewing in you. You're pregnant with a purpose. Something's being brought forth with us. And there is so much of a psychological operation going on now. It's okay to disengage with it and not give it your energy. In fact, to defeat it by going, oh, really? You really want me to go there? Maybe I'll just go here instead. Maybe I'll just on purpose go and enjoy my day and praise God and do something redemptive, like dear Terry, who set up a meeting between her mayor and her police chief and the pastors. Maybe I'll go, and we did the nifty thing with our police force last week. Maybe I'll just go and heal somebody who's sick in the grocery store instead. Maybe I'll just go and make sure that I reach a lost person or bring some food to a shelter. Maybe I'm just going to go and do something really great and unexpected that has absolutely nothing to do with dealing with the bot farms that are trying to control me and manipulate me. And I'm going to turn off the bot farms in my head, right? All right, you guys, that's my thought for today. I will see you tomorrow. In the meantime, do something that scares you, like overcome and ignore what they want you to focus on, what darkness wants you to focus on. It can be a little scary to trust the spirit in you instead of going with how terrible it all is. Oh my gosh. There's more of us than them, for sure, in the spirit. And actually more than we would even realize among the nations. God is doing something